What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 16, Unbearable Truth. So this is the episode where they all go on one big couples retreat, and it's a way for them to, or it's a time for them to reconnect and refocus and figure out what they're going to do with their marriages without all the distractions of the outside world. So we see Jasmine and Eris, and as they're driving to the cabin, I thought it was really ironic that Jasmine pulls out a box of questions for them to play on their way to the retreat, because the last time that we saw them asking each other questions, it didn't go very well. Jasmine didn't want to participate. She really wasn't trying to go deep. She really wasn't trying to give any thought-provoking answers, and Eris got really frustrated with her. So I guess, she's trying to push herself, and she's trying to be a little bit more open and a little bit deeper because, yeah, she's the one that brought the box of questions. So, okay, that was fine. So then we move on to Nicole and Chris, and they're also are on their way to the cabin, and Nicole wants to talk about where they're going to be living after decision day. Now, initially, when they had this discussion earlier on in the season, Nicole made it very clear that she wanted them to live together after their leases expire. And Chris made it seem like he really wasn't ready for them to move in together and considered renewing his lease. And him saying that is like the complete opposite of the way he acts. He acts like he's just head over heels in love with Nicole, cannot get enough of Nicole, wants to be with her all the time, like he cares for her deeply. But he acts like, and the reason why I'm saying act is because who knows what's going to happen at the end, but he acts as if he doesn't want to live with her right away. And you would think that if you love her this much and she's your everything, why don't you want to live together with her? Y'all are already living together now. What is it about this dynamic that you don't want to continue? So she wants a decision right here and right now. And Chris tells her, hey, it's the weekend. We're here to have fun and to relax. So, we'll talk about that on Monday. So he puts it off once again. Gina and Clint, they're the first ones to arrive at the house, and they're choosing a bedroom. And this will be the very first time since Jamaica that they're going to be sharing one room and one bed, because when they moved in together in their apartment, they have separate rooms because they just weren't ready to take that step. Now, with Gina and Clint, we understand that they're like in the friend zone. The relationship has gotten better, but it hasn't progressed as far as the way that it should as a married couple. They definitely like each other. They enjoy spending time with one another, but there's no love connection. There's no spark. There's no chemistry between them. And it's all because for whatever reason, they're both afraid to make that first move. And it seems like they're afraid to do it because they're afraid to be rejected. That's how it seems like to me. I think that there's something there between them, but they're just afraid they're both afraid to make that move. And or maybe maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's nothing there between them. Maybe the awkwardness is real. They feel like they're just too much on that friend level for it to get romantic, because how you'll have that friend who is the opposite sex, and even though y'all get along really great, it would just be so awkward if y'all took that step. It would be like, you feel more like, I don't know, like brother and sister than anything else. And so maybe that's how they feel about one another. But I feel like when they were forced to do that one exercise, I forgot what it was, but it was one of those exercises that they did to improve their intimacy. And I think this is when Clint was telling her about how he would send, nudes and stuff to women or whatever. And I felt like there was something there that if only they were forced, or if only one of them was brave enough to make that move, they would be out of the friend zone. But for whatever reason, it seems like they're too scared to make that move, because I see nothing wrong if they tried to make out, for example, if they tried to kind of kiss and cuddle a little bit. And then if it was still too awkward, then you don't have to ever do it again. But at least give it a try. But, for whatever reason, they're too scared to go there. Moving on from there. So Nicole and Chris, they're the last ones to arrive. And when they arrive, it's dark. So they must have taken the scenic route. Everybody else arrived during the day, Chris and Nicole were coming from a completely different time zone. So when they showed up, Nicole was irritated because she was like, oh no, we're going to get the last room available. It's probably going to be the worst room. And she was really peeved off, but she did very well as far as hiding it. Jasmine, so then the first thing that they're going to do, the first activity that they're going to do on their first night there is the men are going to give a fashion show. And so the men are getting ready and their wives are helping them get ready. And I understand that as much tension as there is between Eris and Jasmine, that they do have these moments of playfulness, right? You have to, because y'all live together 24/7, so it can't be doom and gloom all the time. And so, but I still see like there's this side of her that even though he makes her miserable, and he makes her like question who she is as a woman, I do see there's like a side of her that is always ready to, like, if he wanted to take it further, she'd be ready to go. She would not resist him, she wouldn't push him away. She'd be ready to go. And it kind of gives kind of like pick me vibes in a way, kind of like she just wants to be chosen by him so bad that all he has to do is say the word and she would come running. So when I saw her putting that lotion on his ankles, yeah, I wouldn't have done it. I would not have done it. There's no way I wouldn't have done it, but she did. And I understand it was part of kind of like getting along and being playful with one another, but y'all, there's no way I would have done that. Moving on from there. So now it's time for the pageant. And I noticed, so Jasmine was the host of the pageant, and I noticed that she was working overtime and trying to make sure that her belly button wasn't seen. And I'm wondering if that was because the show told her that her belly button couldn't be seen, or what the hell was going on. I didn't understand, but she would have her arm kind of like across her midsection, or she would be holding up her pants, her jeans, so that her belly button wouldn't be seen, because she had like a crop top on, and I just didn't understand why they couldn't show her belly button. Anyways, so the fashion show begins, and the guys come out in their outfits. Clint came out in a leather jacket, a black leather jacket, no shirt, and his hair pulled back in a sleek man bun. And he came out with such flair and he has such a great entertainment value. He put a big old smile on my face. Clint was robbed. He should have won. He should have won first place easily, but they gave it to Eris. And I thought it was really funny how they gave it to the one husband who makes his wife the most miserable. So Eris won the fashion show, but Clint was definitely robbed. He should have won. And so then after that, I guess at the end of the night, they all go to bed, and Clint and Gina have to sleep in the same bed together for the first time since Jamaica. And it was a lot of awkwardness there. And I still got that feeling that something could have it didn't have to go, they didn't have to go all the way, but they could have tried to make out a little bit just to see if there's anything there, but evidently they didn't. So the next morning we see Eris and Jasmine. They're kind of like going through a little tiff because the night before, Eris had promised Jasmine that he would wake up, and he like when he woke up, he would wake her up so that they could meditate together. And so the next morning he woke up and he claims that he forgot to wake her up. And so when she woke up, she was upset that he didn't wake her up for the meditation. And he liked that. He liked the fact that she expressed some type of an emotion. She was angry. Okay. She wasn't, okay, maybe angry is putting 20 on 10. She was a little bit upset that he had not woken her up to do the meditation as he had promised to do the night before. So she expressed, that she didn't like that. And he enjoyed the fact that she spoke her mind and that she showed an emotion. So I guess part of his problem with Jasmine is that she's been very comatose. Like I've said, her personality is just not there anymore. And that she's just been very blasé, and that she's been just kind of like there, like a zombie. And, she was probably boring him to death. And so the fact that she was like, hey, you didn't do this, and I expect you to do this, and I'm feeling some kind of way about it, he was like, oh, okay, I like this, and we can go ahead and remedy that, which they did. So he had no problem doing the meditation again with her. And I thought that the meditation was a really good bonding experience for the two of them. So from there, we go to Nicole and Chris. Chris has set up a scavenger hunt for Nicole. So he put all these little love notes, like on the throughout the balcony, and they were just little love notes of love and affirmation and whatever. Sometimes I'm wondering if Chris is doing the most, if she kind of gets tired. Like, he does so many of these acts of love that it gets like redundant and it loses meaning when every single day you're coming home with, for example, if you're coming home with 12 dozen roses every single day, does that 15th dozen feel as as good as that first dozen that you got unexpectedly? You know what I mean? Sometimes I wonder if he's just doing the most. And I thought that the scavenger hunt was going to lead to something, like he was going to present her with some type of a gift at the end, but it was just notes that he had written and posted all over the place, and that she was able to find. And I was kind of like, what was the point of this? A scavenger hunt, I thought, led to something, like led to a prize or some type of a treasure or something at the end of it, but it was just notes. But it seemed like she loved it, but sometimes I get the feeling that she's also kind of getting tired of it. And so moving on from there. Okay, so Kristen and Shaquille, they go, I don't know what it's called. They get on like this, circular frisbee looking thing, and they come down this slide, and it's like a slide, I guess, for adults. I have no idea what it's called, but they had a really good time. And after that, they had a conversation about their relationship, and Kirsten said that she's not sure how things are going to go as far as decision day. And Shaquille was, kind of frustrated with her, because he was like, okay, what more do you need for you to know what the hell you want to do in this marriage? But I'm pretty sure she can't say, I'm going to say yes, or I'm going to say no, because then who's going to watch? So she has to be very coy and vague about it. They all do until decision day, so that we can keep coming to watch the show. Then we have Clint and Gina. Now, Clint says that sleeping in the same bed with Gina made them feel more like a married couple. So to me, it's kind of like he's kind of warming up to her. Both can see why they were matched, because they were having, after, what did they do? They did something really fun. Oh, they got on those singular roller coasters. It's like, you sit on that thing and it's a roller coaster, but it's just for one person. And you actually go down this roller coaster track, and it looked like a lot of fun. So after they do that, they sit down for drinks and they're talking about the relationship. And he tells her, yeah, I can definitely see why we were matched. And Gina wholeheartedly agreed that she also understood why. They do get along. Their personalities go very well together. It seems like she does accept him for who he is, and I think Clint is fun. I think Clint is a lot of fun. He had that one hiccup in the beginning when he said what he said, which was in direct retaliation of her calling him a ginger and saying that she doesn't go for gingers. Other than that, and he was talking from a place of hurt, okay? I feel like he said all of that body image stuff, from a place of hurt. But other than that, snafu, I think Clint and Gina are really good together, but they just are too scared to venture into, the romantic realm. And it's unfortunate, because they'll never really know if there was chemistry between them. I think they have a good foundation, simply because I think their foundation is solid, that something could build from that if they took that step, because they really like each other. They really truly like each other. You have doubts if Eris and Jasmine like each other. You have doubts that Shaquille and Kirsten like each other every single day. You just, because with these other people, they're so hot and cold. Like one minute they're doing really, really well, then the next minute they're taking like 5 steps back. And then you have Nicole and Chris, who've been red hot since day one, and you kind of feel like at some point it's going to fizzle out. Like they have been going so strong and for so long, you kind of feel like they've started up here, and it's like there's nowhere else for them to go but down, right? But then Gina and Clint have been sort of even keel. They've been improving slowly, gradually. They've been improving from where they've started. And they're either going to plateau and this is as good as it's going to get, or their foundation is strong enough for them to actually get better and better because they're starting off as friends. Like, they enjoy each other's company for what it is. And there isn't any, there's no sex to cloud any judgment. They don't have these issues where it's like intense hatred for one another or intense anger towards one another, which some people might say is healthy for a relationship, to have fights and to have disagreements, because that's how you learn how to resolve conflict with one another. And maybe they do need that, but all in all, I think Clint and Gina kind of sort of have a decent foundation that a good marriage can be built on. But I don't know, I could be wrong. Moving on from there, we have Eris and Jasmine. So they go rock climbing and then they do this trampoline stuff. And Eris asks Jasmine, can't you see that I'm trying? I'm trying to connect with you and get closer to you. I think that's what he said. And Jasmine acknowledged, yes, you're definitely trying and things have been improving between us. Eris wants Jasmine to call him out and to speak her mind more often. And I think that it's probably too little too late, but if she had been like this from the beginning, if she had more personality, if she didn't just flatline as soon as he said he wasn't attracted to her or he didn't go for her, whatever he said in the beginning, if she hadn't flatlined, if she just kept on being her true self, the Jasmine that her friends and family love and adore, if she would have just kept that up, maybe they would have had a chance. But I think it's too little too late, because it's just not enough time for him to develop the feelings that he needs to develop to say yes on decision day. But he says, if you see me doing something that you don't like, that you feel like is wrong, call me out on it. It's okay. And Jasmine tells us that she's heard this before from past relationships where they've told her to speak out more. Don't be so timid. Don't be so shy. Speak your mind. If you see something that you don't like, it's okay to voice it. Eris tells, so then they separate, right? The guys and the girls, okay? Eris tells the guys, they're cooking. They're cooking in the kitchen. The guys were cooking in the kitchen and the ladies were waiting outside on the patio. And so as the guys are cooking, they're talking about the relationships, and Eris tells the guys that this retreat has definitely helped him and Jasmine. Jasmine says that they're definitely in a better space. And then Shaq says to Eris, what will it take for you to say yes on decision day? And Eris says that he would need some type of a spark, something that he can see that they can actually build on. That's a little bit vague terminology, because it's not giving us specifically what you want her to do. You're waiting for some type of a spark. You're waiting for some type of, chemistry to just ignite between the two of you. So who knows if that's going to happen or not. So that basically tells me, as of right now, I don't think he has enough reason to want to stay with her. Shaq says that Kirsten has definitely put her guard down. She has been more open with him, but he's saying if this would have happened a while ago, then we would have probably surpassed Nicole and Chris if she would have put her guards down a lot earlier. But now she's becoming more open to me, but we're running out of time now. And they asked him, what would it take for him to say yes? And he basically said that he would have loved to have met her family. And he said that I'm not going to force her or beg her to meet her family, but that would have been, the clincher for him, is if he would have met her family, because he's really big on family. And the only people that he met were the people that were there on their wedding day, and he wanted to see more of them and to see more of the rest of her family, but that didn't happen. And so who knows what's going to happen with that. Then we move on to dinner. So at dinner, they're talking about obviously their relationships and the status that they're in right now. And when it was Eris and Jasmine's turn, Aries, I didn't even know he had this in him because, sometimes he can be kind of crass. But he said the most lovely thing about Jasmine, and it brought her to tears. He just basically commended her for being as strong as she has been to put up with his bullcrap, to put up with his rejection, to put up with living with a man who's supposed to be your husband, but who told you from day one that he wasn't physically attracted to you and that you were not his type, but you still stuck it through. Now, of course, I'm ad-libbing here, but he was commending her for staying with him as long as she has, because he said any other woman would have cussed him out, packed her bags, and left. And she would have had every right to do that. He said, you would have had every right to be mad at me and to leave the process. You would have been completely justified, because it hasn't been easy for you, and you're just a really strong woman, and I really admire that. And he just made it sound so nice and so complimentary. It brought the girl to tears. And Jasmine said that this was important for her to hear, because she says for the majority of their marriage, she has felt unseen by him. Like he really hasn't seen her, which I totally agree with, because sometimes I feel like Aries doesn't talk to her, he talks at her, and he makes very little eye contact. And I don't really trust people, who don't make eye contact. I don't get that. But there's people who just don't make eye contact, and he's definitely one of them. So whenever he speaks to her, like he's like looking around, looking above her head, looking behind her, to the side of her. He never looks at her directly in her eye. It's very rare that he does. I'm not going to say never. It's very rare when he does. Even when he was complimenting her at the dinner table, he wasn't really looking directly at her, but maybe he did, but I missed it. So it was very beautiful what he said. And she says she felt validated, because she says, I've never felt like, he really saw me. And for him to say that, he did realize the struggle that she was in to live with a man who did not find you attractive. So moving on from there, Gina and Clint, they talk about how their relationship has just basically been friend zoned. And Gina explains to the group that it's not like anything really bad happened between us, but this is just how it's been. And I think she was trying to say that their relationship has been very blasé. It's been very even keel, not a lot going on. Yes, they get along. Yes, they like each other, but it's just been like one straight line. Not much is happening. So unfortunately that night, Aries had to leave because of work duties that he couldn't get out of, and Jasmine was actually sad. And I think that when they said their goodbyes, that was probably the most emotion that they have expressed towards one another, because up until then, they've been very, very, very distant. So the way that they hugged each other when he was leaving, that was the most emotion, the most physical contact that I've seen between Aries and Jasmine. And then they had the 80s birthday party, because they were celebrating Clint and Nicole's birthday, and that was a whole lot of fun. It was what it was. There was no after party at the end of this episode, because I think Keisha Not Polium had her baby, so congratulations to her on her new bundle of joy. But Clint was robbed. Okay, that crown should have gone to him, hands down. And I think they should do a redo of that damn pageant, or recalculate the votes, because Clint was robbed. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.